Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. I hope, inshallah, this will be a truly blessed Ramadan. My commentary tonight is on Juz 2, and I have picked what I believe is a truly significant verse that we will, inshallah, explore together in a few different facets. We'll take a look at it from a few different vantage points. And so let us begin. So before getting into the verse itself, let us give a little bit of historical context. As we read the beginning of Juz 2, we see that verses that come before this verse talk about a very significant event in the life of the early Muslim community in Medina. In the second year of the Hijrah, the divine command came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, to change the direction of the Qibla from Jerusalem to Mecca. This event, which we now sort of take for granted, was actually a very serious and significant controversy for the early Muslim community. The polytheists, the people of the book, the Jews in Medina, severely criticized Islam on a variety of different grounds that we don't need to cover here. But the basic gist was, what kind of religion is this that first you're praying in one direction, all of a sudden you switch to pray in another direction? And this actually was a severe test of faith for many of the Muslims as well, or for some of the Muslims, I should say. And according to some scholars, some Muslims even recanted their Islam, and God knows best. So with that background, we can now turn to look at this verse, which is defining what true righteousness is, what true piety is, for whoever has an open heart and an open mind. So the verse begins, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب. So righteousness is not in turning your faces toward the east or the west. Yes, we take the issue of the Qibla seriously. Yes, we take the mechanics of the prayer seriously. But we need to understand that righteousness is not about the mechanics of the rituals. What direction we face, where we put our hands, do we say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim at the beginning of the Fatiha or not? The rituals are meant to support righteousness. The house of righteousness is built upon these pillars, but the ritual in and of itself is not righteousness. So ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب. Righteousness is not about what direction you face, but what is righteousness. ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين. So the first part of righteousness is the faith. Rather, the righteous are those who believe, or righteousness is the belief. I like that translation better, actually, that righteousness is the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the last day, in the angels, in the books, and in the prophets. So that is the first aspect of righteousness, is correct belief. Then we see that the verse goes on to talk about the actions that become the practical expression and translation and confirmation of that belief. And so the verse continues, وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ ذَوِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَابْنَ السَّبِيلِ وَالسَّائِلِينَ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ. And so the person who is righteous is the one who gives charity out of the wealth that they love to relatives, to orphans, to the poor, the needy, travelers, and beggars, and for freeing captives. So, caring about other people, understanding that our wealth is not ours, but it is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and going out of our way to try to make the lives of all of these different groups of needy people better. Then we return again to the acts of worship, and you notice that helping people is put before the acts of worship. وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةَ وَآتَى الزَّكَاةَ. And the one who establishes prayer and pays the zakah. Then again, we return to our interactions with people. وَالْمُوفُونَ بِعَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا. And those who keep the pledges or the promises they make, that their word is their bond. That the Muslim is, if he gives you his word or she gives you her word, you know that they will follow through. وَالصَّابِرِينَ فِي الْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَحِينَ الْبَأْسِ. And those who are patient in times of suffering, adversity, and in the heat of battle, أُولَئِكَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. They are the ones who have been true to their faith, and they are the ones who are mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, the verse comes out and tells us very clearly that facing the east or facing the west, that's not what righteousness is about, and then goes through to define very both precisely and inspirationally what true righteousness means. I think that really is the essence of the verse, and God knows best. But before leaving it, I cannot resist covering a subtle but extremely significant point, really, that has now to do with Arabic grammar. And I know that Arabic is not the first language for everyone. I hope, inshallah, you'll stay with me for this part. And you notice here that the Quran is listing all of the different aspects of righteousness. And here it says, وَالْمُوفُونَ بِعَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا. This is, in Arabic we say it's marfu'. It is taking the case or the tashkil or the form of the subject of the sentence. وَالْمُوفُونَ بِعَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا. If you and I were writing Arabic following the grammar rules, this word here was sabirina, those who show patience, would have actually been was-sabiruna, just like al-mufuna, wal-mufuna bi'ahdihim idha ahadu, was-sabiruna fil ba'sa'i wad-dharra. It would have also taken the case of the subject of the sentence. Instead here, it is taking the case as if it were an object of the sentence, an object of the verb. In Arabic, we say this is mansub. Again, if you and I were following the normal standard rules of grammar, this would have been marfu', it would have been was-sabiruna. Why does the Quran here come and make it was-sabirina instead of was-sabiruna? This Arabic grammatical device is known to the grammarians as al-qata'. And al-qata' means to break the normal grammar rules. Why would that happen? Why do they do that? Basically, the grammarians and the scholars say that this is to call special attention to this topic, to this issue, to give it a special distinction or merit. And so, if you know Arabic well, like the early Arabs did, as soon as you hear this, all of a sudden, your attention will be drawn. Oh my goodness, it should have been was-sabiruna. Why is it as-sabirina? And they understand that when you do this, when you practice this grammatical device of qata', of changing the case from what it otherwise should be, it is to call special attention and give special distinction to what is being talked about. And so of all of the great things that this verse is talking about, correct belief, giving in charity from the wealth that you love, establishing prayer, giving the zakah, keeping your word when you give it, and being patient in times of adversity, that patience is being given a special distinction in the Quran, so that we know that life will test us. We will talk about this in a moment. When it does, and when we are trying to call on our reserves of patience and perseverance and faith, let us remember that in verse 177 in Ayat al-birr, that the Quran makes a special distinction for that patience and for that perseverance in times of difficulty and adversity. To showcase that, I just want to return to some of the verses that came just slightly before Ayatul Birr and underscore that point. Because the Quran tells us, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. We will certainly test you with some elements of fear and hunger, famine, loss of property, life and crops or goods. Give good news to those who patiently endure. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give glad tidings to those who are patient. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Those who, when they are faced with a disaster, say, surely to Allah we belong, and to Him we will all return. For those who are able to practice this sort of patience and perseverance, أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. They are the ones who will receive Allah's blessing and mercy, and it is they who are rightly guided. And so that is how special patience in adversity is. You get the blessings, the salawat, salawatu min rabbihim wa rahmah, blessings and mercy from Allah, and they are the ones who truly are rightly guided. So in each life, in your life, in my life, we will be tested. And to help us persevere, please remember that little subtle grammatical device that was in verse 177 of Ayatul Birr, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about all of the elements of righteousness, gives special distinction and special merit to patience in adversity. May God bless you and bless us all with a spiritual Ramadan, and may our fasting and our prayers be accepted. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.